Okay, so good morning to all of you, and we'll start with today's session. So yesterday we have discussed the concept of hypothesis testing, and that is using interval estimation method. So in case of hypothesis testing, basically what is the concept of hypothesis testing is we have some initial claim in the form of statement or in some form of notation, and that initial claim we call it as H naught, the starting point or the 0 point of analysis, so H0 or H naught. And then we try to check whether my H naught is or my assumption is correct or not. So what the process is, we have to draw the distribution of the data. First we have to draw the distribution of the data, whatever data we have collected, sample data, and then we have to check whether my assumption, that is my H naught value, whether it is in accept range of values or reject range of values. So whenever I will draw the distribution of data, as we have discussed during histogram also, or in normal curve also, up to 3 standard deviation, should be there. We should have 99% of data or population. So beyond 3 standard deviation, even we call the data points as outliers. Similarly, at different confidence levels, a different percentage of population will be in accept range and different percentage of population will be in reject range. So we'll have some set of values which we can call it as accepted values, a range of accepted values, and then we'll have a set of values which we can call it as a range of rejected values. And then we need to check where my initial assumption or H naught, is it part of reject values or is it part of accept values? If it is part of accept values, then my assumption is correct. I'll go ahead with H naught. I'll accept H naught. If my H naught is part of reject set of values, then my assumption is wrong. That means my H naught is not right. So that is the basic concept of hypothesis testing. Now there are these different methods like interval estimation method, Z value method, T value method, p-value analysis, or f-value method. All these methods are just to define those sets of accept region and reject region. All these methods are just to define these sets of accept region and reject region in different ways. So in case of interval estimation method, yesterday we have seen that we need a confidence level constant, then we need to calculate X bar, then we need to calculate the standard deviation, then put all these values in that formula and then calculate the range of accepted values. So that is the method of interval estimation method, to calculate the range of accepted values. Now this is a second method, hypothesis testing using Z value. So now we will see how to calculate the range of accepted values in this method using Z value. Now all of we are aware of this data distribution, and then we are aware that at the middle point we have the X bar, that is a mean of the distribution, and then we can easily calculate Z for any value in this distribution, and we can calculate the distance. Now suppose if we are solving some problem at 95% of confidence, and then I have told you how to calculate the confidence level constant from the Z table. So for 95% confidence level, the constant comes as 1.96, that we have discussed yesterday, and we have seen the example also. So the constant for 95% confidence level is 1.96. What is the meaning of that? The meaning of the term 1.96 as a constant is from X bar as the mean. If I draw a line at distance 1.96 on both the sides, all these data points, whatever are between minus 1.96 to plus 1.96, these are my 95% of population. That means I say I have 95% of confidence. That means these two data points, in between these two data points, I have almost 95% of my population. So I can call this 95% of population as accept region at 95% confidence level. I can call this region as accept region at 95% confidence level. And whatever is beyond 1.96 distance on both the sides of the mean, will become the reject region at 95% confidence level. Now, so this will become reject region at 95% confidence level. So in a way, I'm trying to define set of accepted values. So all these are accepted values and these are my rejected values. So now I'll take one problem and I'll see whether my H0 falls in accept region or reject region. Simple. So I'll go ahead and I'll solve this problem, some problem. Suppose mu is equal to 85 is my H0 for some problem. So H1 will become mu is not equal to 85. The alpha is 0.05, that is 95% confidence. I'm keeping that as default. N is 100, so number of observations I have are 100. The mean is also given to you because I am not giving direct data to you. So mean is given, mean is 88 and the standard deviation is 20. Now we know how to calculate Z value. So if I just put all the values in this Z formula, what value of Z I get is 1.5. So what is the meaning of Z is equal to 1.5 for this H0? The Z value is 1.5 for this H0 means the distance of my assumption, the distance of my assumption from the mean is 1.5. The distance of my assumption H0 from the mean is 1.5. Now if I try to plot 1.5 from X bar, that is a middle point, that is a mean. So if I have to plot 1.5, I will plot 1.5 somewhere here. 1.5 distance somewhere here. That means my H0, whatever assumption I have made, is at this location, at distance 1.5. And this is part of accept region. So what I'll say is we fail to reject H0. So how can I write this condition? This condition can be written as if the value of Z is less than 1.96. If you look at on this side, if the value of Z, the distance, any distance which is less than 1.96, that means my H0 is in accept region. Similarly, if you look at negative side, then if I have to cancel the sign, I'll take mod of Z. So again, the mod of Z, if it is less than 1.96, even on this side, that means my H0 or my assumption is in accept region. So if it is less than 1.96, now from where 1.96 is coming? Again, because my confidence level is 95%, that's why I'm taking constant for that confidence level, which is 1.96. If you are solving some problem at 99% of confidence, then you have to compare your Z value with 2.57, which is the constant for 99% confidence. So in a way, I can write the rule as if mod of Z is less than confidence level constant, then we fail to reject H0. If mod of Z is less than confidence level constant, then we fail to reject H0. And diagrammatically also, if my Z value, if the distance is less than the confidence level constant, that means it is within the confidence level values. The data point or H0 is within the confidence level values, that means we fail to reject H0. That means my H0 is correct. I can go ahead with H0. So this is using Z value. So we are not going to solve more problems using Z value because we have solved enough problems using Z value. But before going ahead to T value analysis and P value analysis, I'll just tell you the common format of this rule. Now this is the rule. Mod of Z is less than confidence level constant, that is for Z. What was the rule for interval estimation method? For interval estimation method, the rule was whatever is your H0 or mu, whatever is your H0, if that belongs to the interval of accepted values, correct? In the interval estimation method, this is given by X bar plus or minus confidence level constant into sigma divided by root m. That was the formula. So whatever values you will get, whatever interval of values you will get using this formula, if your H0 belongs to this set of intervals, then you say we fail to reject H0. So if you look at the common thing in between these two rules, this is your interval estimation method rule and this is your Z rule. In both the rules, what we can say is what we have on the left hand side, this Z is what? In this rule, this Z is what? This is the distance for H0. So the left hand side is always from the problem, or we can say calculated value. The left hand side is always a calculated value, and that we compare with right hand side, which is a constant, So even in this case, once you use this formula, what you get is a constant set of accept region. So constant. So always remember, for hypothesis testing, this is a common format of the rule, and this we'll see in case of t-test and f-test also, that always the left hand side is the calculated value and the right hand side is the constant. Now whether that constant is coming from z table, or the constant is coming from t table, or the constant is coming from f table, that's a different story. But it is some constant, or we can call it as a table value. We can also call it as a table value, because where is from where this 1.96 is coming? That is coming from z table. That is coming from z table. So in case of t analysis, this value will come from t table. So on the right hand side, we always have a constant, which is a table value. In case of Excel, this constant or table value is also called as critical value. So you will always find this pattern, that in case of hypothesis testing, the left hand side is your calculated value using the formula, and the right hand side is your constant, which comes from a table, which we call it as a critical value. And if calculated value is less than critical value, if calculated value is less than constant, if calculated value is less than table value, we fail to reject H0. That is a common rule. We fail to reject H0. That is a common rule. So always remember this. Okay, now we'll solve one problem using t statistics also, or t value, or t table. So I'm considering the same problem. My H0 is mu equal to 85, H1 becomes mu is not equal to 85, default confidence level of 95%, n is suppose 25, I have 25 observations, x bar is given to you, s is given to you, standard deviation is given to you. And then yesterday we have discussed multiple methods of hypothesis testing, and their names and their formula also. And at that time I have discussed that formula for t is x bar minus mu naught divided by s upon root n. The only change is, because now we are into sample handling, we are not into population parameters, this mu becomes mu naught, sigma becomes s, which is standard deviation of sample, and this x bar is directly given to you. So if you put all these values in this formula, so x bar is my 82, so this is 82 minus mu naught is the H0 value of mu, that is 85, divided by standard deviation is 20, and divided by root of n, that is root of 25, which is 5. So this comes as minus 3 divided by 4, and that comes to be minus 0.75. So that is how I can calculate the t value, and t value comes as minus 0.75. Now this is my calculated value. As we have discussed, on left hand side we always have the calculated value when we want to check the rule. So on right hand side I should have the table value, or the constant, or the critical value. And for this problem, because we are using t value analysis, I'll use t table. Now I'll tell you how to read t table. Now in case of this rule, if you look at this rule, what we are doing is we are taking mod of the calculated value. So if I consider the distribution, and if this is my accept region, and if this is my reject region, so this is my reject region, and the remaining is my accept region. So in this situation, if I'm taking mod of the calculated value, then I'm considering only one half of my distribution. Even if my distance is negative on this side, I'm considering the same distance on the positive side. So I'm considering only half of the distribution. So now if I'm considering only half of the distribution, so in that case, the reject region, this is a total reject region. Even my reject region is getting half. The reject region is also getting half. So I'm comparing my value with only half of the reject region. with only half of the reject region. And that's why the rule for T table, how to read T table is, now we have to look at two values. You just open the T table. When I'm explaining to you, just open the T table on your machine. Again, I'm telling you all these things you are not going to do using pen and paper. I'm just telling you what happens in the backend, what is the actual method of T statistics. Once we shift on Excel, all these things can be done on a single click without referring to any table also. So just open the T table. Have you opened the T table on your machine?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now the value of n is 25. That means we have 24 observations and we are dealing with samples. In case of samples, we consider 1 degree of freedom that we have discussed. So n minus 1. So n minus 1 is 24. So my DF value, degree of freedom value, becomes 24. So I have to look at the row of 24. The row values in T table are degree of freedom values. So my DF value is 24. So look at the row of 24. Now in columns, you can see the fractional values, which are my significance values. Now in case of significant values, as I have discussed, that the total confidence, what I'm considering for this problem is 95%, that means significance is 0.05. But because I'm considering, I'm taking mod of the calculated value, I'm considering only 1/2 of the distribution. Even I have to consider the half of the significance value, that is 0.05 divided by 2, which comes as 0.025. So look at the column of 0.025. So row of 24 and column of 0.025. What is the value? Row of 24 and column of 0.025.
Hello.
Yes.
Sir, here column indicates 0.25. So it's indicating the row of 24 and the column of 0.25. The value is 0.684.
No. Column of 0.025.
Okay.
2.06.
Yes, 2.06. Okay. Now look at my screen now. Minimize the T table. So this is how you can read this T table. That T table rows consist of degree of freedom. In this case, it is 24 because I have 25 values, n minus 1 for sample. So degree of freedom becomes 24. And now, as I have explained, that in case of distribution, this is my reject region and this is also my reject region. And addition of both this reject region is what? 0.05. Correct? That is my significance level. If I am 95% confident that the whole area between these two lines is my 95% of population. That means what area I have in reject region is 5% of area. So this area and this area becomes 5%. That is 0.05. If this is 5%, only if I have to consider the half of the reject region, then this has to be half of the 0.05, which is 0.025. That's why we have to look at a row of 24 and column of 0.025. Am I clear to you? Yes? Am I clear to you? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So in this case now calculated value is minus 0.75, but because of more then we consider plus 0.75, that is my left hand side value, and that I am comparing with the table value which comes as 2.064. So 0.75 less than 2.064, is it true or not? Is this condition true or not? This condition is false. This condition is false. I am just giving you the rule that if T calculated, number of T calculated, if it is less than T table, then we fail to reject H0. But in this case, T calculated is less than the T table, 2.064. So can we say we fail to reject H0? Can we say we fail to reject H0? Yes, we can say we fail to reject H0. So we fail to reject H0 means I'll go ahead with my assumption that H0, that mu is equal to 85. I'll go ahead with this basic assumption of mu equal to 85. So this is how you can test your hypothesis using p-value analysis. So we have discussed the interval estimation method, we have discussed the Z value analysis, now we have discussed the T value analysis also. So this is the Excel file which I have already shared in yesterday's session, and this problem we have solved in yesterday's session, that if numbers are given to you, if data is given to you, then you can directly calculate the interval of accept values at different confidence levels using the formula that that can be used for interval estimations, and these are the constants for confidence level. So this is all what we have done in yesterday's session. Now we'll try to implement some data analysis method to test my hypothesis. Now in this case, if this set of values is given, if you look at data analysis and if you look at T statistics, we don't have a T statistics method in Excel for one sample. Whatever methods we are looking at are for paired means 2 sample, 2 sample, 2 sample, 2 sample. So we don't have any method for one sample in Excel. But now we have to solve the problems using T statistics in Excel. So what we are going to do, again, this is a shortcut method. We will consider the second variable as 0. So just put 0 in all the columns, in all the cells in second column. So I'll consider my second variable as 0, and then I'll go for data analysis. I'll go for T statistics, paired 2 sample for means. I'll click on OK. Okay, so this is a kind of shortcut method to use Excel's t-test paired sample for one sample method. You will get the same results what we have calculated, but still this is one of the ways to use Excel in one sample calculations. I'll click on OK now. Once you click on OK, it will ask for the variable 1 and variable 2 range, because this method is for paired sample. So again, I'll have to select my first variable, which is the actual set of values, and the second variable, which are set of zeros. So I'll select second column as my variable 2. Labels, I'll not click here because I'm not considering any labels in my first row. Even my first row consists of values. Now there is one important term which has been mentioned here: hypothesized mean difference. What is the hypothesized mean difference? That means we have to give what is the mean value of H0. In this cell, we have to give what is my mean value of H0. That means what is my assumption? What is my hypothesis? What is my assumption? So for this problem, now we have taken this problem from yesterday's PPT. What was the mu in that case? What was the mu in that case? First problem, what mu we have taken? I guess 172. Mean is here, 172, correct?
Yes, sir, it is 172.
172, okay, fine. So I'll write 172 here. Alpha, I'll keep it as default, which is 0.05. I'll not change that. And suppose output range, I want to display my output from this cell, and then I'll click on OK. So now look at the values. Just forget about variable 2. We are just focusing on variable 1 values. That is our actual set of values. So you'll get all these things. In that case, you'll get T statistics. You'll get the critical value of T with 2 tails and 1 tail and everything. The degree of freedom is also given to you and everything. Now for this problem, what is the value of n? For this problem, what is the value of n? Count is 25. You can get the count here from the descriptive statistics. So again, we have to look for row of 24, correct? If count is 25, we have to look for row of 24. So it is coming as the same problem, row of 24, and the confidence level is 95%. So we have to look at the column of 0.025 that we have discussed already, and that value comes as 2.06. The same value is coming here. The table value which we have looked at the T table, the same value is here, the T critical value. The T critical value, 2.06. Okay. So instead of looking at T table every time in Excel, this row will give you the table value of T, 2.06. And then the calculated value, if you use the formula, and then if you calculate the T statistics, then T value will come as this, 0.25. So this is your calculated value and this is your table value. Now what is our rule? if calculated is less than table. If calculated is less than critical, then we fail to reject H0. And even if you can recall from yesterday's problem, at all level of confidences, we fail to reject H0. That means we are going ahead with H0. That was our conclusion yesterday, correct? This 172 belongs to this interval also. This 172 belongs to this interval also, and this 172 belongs to this interval also. That means we fail to reject H0. My assumption is correct at all confidence levels. The same thing is coming here, because T statistics is less than the T critical value, T table value. That means we fail to reject H0. So that is a second way of doing the analysis with one sample using data analysis method for t-test. Now there is one more method which you can use, which is the p-value analysis. So that we will discuss when we'll discuss p-value analysis. I'll come back to this output and I'll explain you how to read this p-values. So this is the p-value which we have to consider, and in this case also, if you look at the p-value, it is greater than 0.05. It is greater than 0.05, so it is greater than 0.05. That means we fail to reject H0. But that rule I'll explain to you when we'll discuss p-value analysis. So this is the method using which you can execute t statistics in Excel. So now we'll go to the second problem, second sheet, and we'll try to solve this problem also. I guess this problem is also solved yesterday, that sunflower height problem, where the mean was something like 15.7, I guess, correct? What was the mean for the second problem yesterday? 15.7. Yes. Yes. Okay. So again, we'll go to the data method, data analysis, test paired sample. But now in this case, we have to consider the second variable as 0 again. So I'll put 0 in all the all the values. Okay. So this is 0. Then data analysis, variable number 1 is this first variable, and variable number 2 is the second variable. Hypothesized mean difference is 15.7, which was for second problem yesterday, 15.7. Labels, I don't have labels in my first row, so I'll keep it as it is. And then alpha, I'll keep it as 0.05. Output, suppose I am to start my output from this location. And then I'll click on OK. So what value I'm getting is T statistics, which is the calculated value, as 4.5. If I take mod, that comes as 4.5. And the critical value, which is table value, which is 2.03. So now can I say that mod of T statistics, mod of calculated value, which comes as 4.5 actually. And then I'm comparing that with 2.03, which is the table value. These are the two values, 4.5 and 2.03. Is my calculated value is less than the table value? Is my calculated value less than table value? Answer is no. Answer is no. In that case, what is my conclusion? If calculated is greater than table, then we reject H0. Then we reject H0. That is my assumption. We reject H0. And you can look at the yesterday's example also. Have we rejected H0 at all confidence levels for this problem? Yes. So we have rejected H0 at all confidence levels for this problem. I guess Japan sir told the intervals for 95, 99 and 90%. And then we have seen that 15.7 is not part of any of the interval estimations, correct? And that because of that, we say we reject H0. Consider 21st year resident female doctors drawn at random, and I have some systolic blood pressure values. Using some device, I have taken the blood pressure values. These are the 20 blood pressure values of those 20 resident female doctors. So I just want to check whether the mean of the blood pressure values, the mean blood pressure, I want to compare it with 120 because that is what my assumption is, that the blood pressure, normal blood pressure should be 120. Systolic is the higher blood pressure. So the standard higher blood pressure, which is expected one, is 120. So I just want to compare the set of 20 nurses or 20 doctors which I have. Are their mean blood pressure is around 120 or not? Okay. So what is my H naught in this case? So now we'll try to form the H naught. What will be my H naught in this case? What will be my H naught in this case? In notation format, mu is equal to 120. That has to be my H naught. Okay. So in notation format, my H naught has to be mu equal to 120. That is what I want to check. So what can be the statement for this H naught? What can be the statement? Yes, anyone? Yes, anyone?
Sir, it should be mu is equal to 120.
Yeah, that is in notation format. That is I have given on the screen. Well, how can I write this in statement format? So when I say mu equal to 120, that is what I am trying to check. Yes, from the previous large studies of women drawn at random from the healthy general public, a resting systolic blood pressure of 120 mmHg was predicted as the population mean. So this is what is given as a population mean. And I am considering that even the sample mean is same. Even the sample meaning is same. Sample mean is same. So when I say mu equal to 120, my basic assumption is there is no difference in population mean and sample mean. How can I write this statement is there is no difference in population mean and sample mean. There is no difference between population mean and sample mean. Both are same. Because population mean is 120, I am considering the sample mean also 120. I need to check whether my statement, my assumption is correct or not. That I need to check. Correct? So this is how you can form the hypothesis statements. In further problems, we will try to define more and more hypothesis statements and more complex one rather. This is a very simple plain one which is given to you, 120, which is a population parameter, and then it has to be the H naught. So it's a straightforward hypothesis statement. Fine. So the same data set is given to you in Excel. So you can just shift to Excel. I have told you how to calculate the T statistics value considering second column as 0. So because of the limitation of PowerPoint presentation, I have given the values in 2 columns, but in Excel I have given all these values in single column. So what is value? What is calculated T?
Sir, value is 4.512.
4.512. That is calculated one.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what is the table value?
That is 2.093.
Okay, so what is your analysis from this?
Sir, here our calculated value is greater than the table value.
Yes.
Then we reject the hypothesis.
Correct. So we say we reject H naught.
Yes, we reject it.
Correct. Okay. So this is the same output you have got in your Excel. This is T statistics, which is important for us, and this is the table value, T table. So this T calculated is greater than T table, so we reject H naught. So whatever we have discussed till this slide is about one sample. We have one sample data of one sample, and then we are trying to analyze where my H naught, the basic assumption, can I go ahead with my basic assumption or my basic assumption is wrong. That is what about one sample statistics. Now we are into two sample statistics. So when I say two sample statistics, as we have discussed, I can have two situations. Either I can conduct a test in for the same set of 10 students before starting a course, and then I'll conduct another test for same set of 10 students after completing the course. So that is kind of before after kind of data sets I have. So I have two samples, scores of two tests, but the objects are same. The 10 students are remaining same. So I can call them as a paired sample. And then if I have conducted one exam for class 1, and then I have conducted another exam for class 2, so the students in both the classes are totally different, objects are totally different. So I can say it is case of independent samples. So based on that, if we have two samples to deal with, in case of two samples to deal with, either I can have two samples as independent samples, or I can have two samples as related samples, or we can call them as dependent samples or paired samples. So based on that, we have two methods. For related samples, we have paired sample t-test, and for independent samples, we have independent sample t-test. Now, these are non-parametric tests. That means if you don't know the population parameter and everything, then for non-parametric tests, we can use Mann-Whitney test and Wilcoxon test. But that is not part of this course. So we'll go ahead with independent sample t-test and paired sample t-test. Now consider following data about understanding of a subject before using suppose case study method. So I want to use case study method to teach one subject. So before starting implementation of case study method, I have taken one exam, and these are the scores which have been scored by the students in that subject. Now consider following data about the understanding of a subject after using case study methods. So then I have implemented the case study method, and then after implementing case study method, I have taken another exam, and these are the scores scored by the same set of students in second exam. So this is a set of scores without case study method, and this is set of scores using case study method, but the objects are same. Same students have given both the exams. So in that case, I can call this as a paired sample t-test. I can call this as a situation for paired sample t-test. Now, before going to paired sample t-test, if I just calculate the mean values for score 1 and score 2. So the mean of score 1 comes as 7.29, and the mean of score 2 comes as 8.29. Only looking at the mean values, the average values, my basic understanding is, okay, score 2 is greater than score 1. 8.29 is greater than 7.29. So I may want to think, or I may want to consider that score 2 are better than score 1. Score 2 data set is better than score 1. That means there is a positive effect of case study method. There is a positive effect of case study method. But I don't know. I cannot surely say whether my assumption is correct or not. That is my assumption. That is what my basic assumption is. Okay. So I'll go ahead with that assumption, and then I'll check whether my assumption is correct or not. That means I'm going to do the hypothesis testing. Fine. So above result shows score 2 mean is better than score 1 mean. But that doesn't mean that overall scores are improved, as this is just a sample mean and not the population mean. This may be a case or a true case only for these two scores. But if I consider the whole population, that if wherever I'm teaching this subject, if I try to use case study method at all those locations in all those classes, I may get a different situation in different classes. I am not sure. So I need to do the hypothesis testing to check my basic assumption that a case study method has some effect or not. Okay. So in this case, I can say that this is a situation for paired sample t-test. Now in case of paired sample t-test, again, I'll just tell you what happens in the backend, how actually paired samples are executed, and then we'll go on Excel and we'll execute the Excel method also. So in case of paired sample, one of the scores is always pre, and one of the scores is always post something, some event. In this case, the event is case study method. So I denote them as X pre and X post. The X values with pre and post notation. So what we have to calculate is the difference. We have to calculate is difference. How to calculate difference? Either X post minus X pre or X pre minus X post. It's your choice. But we'll compute the difference. If I compute the difference, in this problem also, if I can calculate another column as D, 7 minus 8. 7 minus 8 comes as minus 1. 9 minus 9 comes as 0. 6 minus 9 comes as minus 3. 8 minus 10 minus 2. 9 minus 10 minus 1. 5 minus 4 1. And 7 minus 8 minus 1. So this becomes my next column of differences. Correct? Now in this column of differences, or D, how my H0 will be? How my H0 will be? Now as I said that how to remember how to form the null hypothesis, because it is H0. Not means no and not words has to be in this statement. So if I have to put no or not words in this statement, how can I write the null hypothesis for this problem is there is no difference in the mean of pre and post exams. There is no difference in the means of pre and post exams. That means there is no difference means the mu pre is equal to mu post. Mu pre is equal to mu post. That means there is no difference in the mean of pre scores and post scores. In a way, how can I write H0 again as, if I shift this mu post on this side or this mu pre on this side, mu post minus mu pre equal to 0. Mu post minus mu pre equal to 0. And what is this difference? That difference is notation is D. When I calculate that difference, that notation is D. So instead of writing mu post minus mu pre, I can write mu D, which is mu post minus mu pre. So mu D equal to 0. That becomes my H0. That the mean of difference is 0. So this is how actually the hypothesis is computed or hypothesis is formed in case of paired samples. So at the end, what is my H0? That difference mean of the differences is 0. So for this now paired sample t-test, if I want to use the formula, what is the formula for t for single sample? This was the formula for t statistics for single sample, x bar minus mu naught divided by s upon root n, that we have discussed. Now in this case, what is x bar? X bar is the mean of population. What is mu naught? Mu naught is the value of h naught, correct? So if I put x naught as it is, because that is the mean of all the column values, what is my mu naught? What is my mu naught? Mu naught is the h naught value, which is 0. In this case, it is 0. For paired sample, it has to be 0 because that is what paired sample hypothesis says. Divided by s is the standard deviation divided by root n. So it remains as it is. But the standard deviation is for difference column. This column. The standard deviation is for difference column. And that's why if you look at the formula is also t is equal to d bar divided by standard deviation of d divided by root n. That is the formula for t. So I'll just show you the formula. This is the formula. T is equal to d bar. Why this is d bar? The numerator says x bar minus mu naught divided by s upon root n, correct? That is why my t value is. Now this x bar is because I'm calculating one column of x with values of x, and then I'm calculating the average, so I'm calling it as x bar. Because my the column is having heading D with values as -1, 0, -3, -2, -1, 1, and -1. So if I calculate average of this column, with the heading of D, I'll call it as D bar. Minus mu naught is 0, that becomes 0, divided by, if I calculate standard deviation of this column, that is SD divided by root n. So d bar minus 0 is d bar divided by SD upon root n. So that is how we are formulating the formula for t statistics for paired sample. So the formula is d bar divided by SD upon root n. Fine. Now there are two methods to solve this problem. In case of paired sample t-test, we have two methods to solve this problem. And then now I'll show both the methods how to solve this problem. Okay. So first of all, we'll go to the Excel where the same problem is given to you, and then we'll try to find the methods to solve this problem. Fine. So first thing is I'll calculate D, the difference column, and the difference is post minus pre, or you can take pre minus post also, not a problem. So this is what is my difference column. So I'll just modify it. These are all my difference values. Okay. So this is my D column. Now the first method is, forget about this problem. Forget about this problem. Just consider this problem as a one sample t-test. Just consider this problem as a one sample t-test. Okay. Now in this case, what is the formula? Formula says we first have to find the D bar. That means average of these values. Then we have to find the standard deviation of these values and then root n. So how to get all these values? First method, go to data analysis. First, go to descriptive statistics, click on OK. Input range, give this as input range, the column of D. Label in first row, yes. Output, suppose I want to start my output from this location, and then summary statistics. I want only summary statistics, click on OK. So this is all what I get. What I'm interested in is, what is my D bar? So D bar is 1, I'm getting that value. Then the formula says standard deviation is 1.2, and root n is root of 7. So I can use all these values to calculate the t value. That is first method. Second method is, as I have explained, consider the second column as all zeros. Consider second column as all zeros. Go to data analysis, t value paired sample, click on OK. You have to give the data set, first data set as this data set, column of D. Second data set as all zeros. What is the hypothesized mean difference? Mu D equal to 0, that means 0. Output, suppose I have to start my output from this location. Click on OK. So what I get is something like this. So again, I am getting t statistics as some value, and then I am getting t critical. This is second value. This is second method. Now third method, considering the actual two samples. So again, go to data analysis, use the same t-test paired samples for means, click on OK. Now select variable 1 as score 1 and variable 2 as score 2, which are the actually two samples. Hypothesized mean remains 0. Suppose I have to start my output from this location and then click on OK. Okay, I have not clicked the labels. So even this considering score 1 and score 2 as part of the values. Okay, fine. And then I'll click on OK now. Still get second output. You can see you will get same t statistics because you are trying to solve one problem from different methods. Same t statistics 2.04, same critical value 2.44. And now if I use this method of actual formula, the actual formula says, what is the formula for t? D bar. So that is equal to, D bar is mean, that is 1, divided by standard deviation. Standard deviation is this value, divided by square root of n. So what is square root of n? That is square root of count, that is this value. So if I put all these values, what I'm getting is 2.04. That is my calculated value. So look at the calculated value, all over I'm getting the same calculated value. Yes. So this is the calculated value using formula 2.04. This is the calculated value using one sample as a difference column. And this is the calculated value using both the samples, actually paired samples. So you can solve this problem by any of the methods. I have shown you 3 methods, any of the 3 methods, but you will get the same t statistics 2.04. And that you have to compare with critical value, which is 2.44. So is 2.04 less than 2.44? Is 2.04 less than 2.44? Answer is yes. 2.04 is less than 2.44. Answer is yes. That means we fail to reject H0. If t statistics is less than t critical, we fail to reject H0. When I say we fail to reject H0, again I'll go back to the presentation. When I say we fail to reject H0, means what? This is my H0. The mu of D equal to 0. There is no difference. What is my H0? There is no difference in the pre-scores and post-scores. There is no significant difference in the pre-scores and post-scores. So if I go back to the problem, what difference I'm getting? That difference is not significant enough to say that this difference is because of case study method. This difference is not significant enough to say that the difference is because of case study method. Okay, so in a way, what I am saying is mu pre is equal to mu post. We fail to reject H0 means my basic assumption is correct. There is no difference in the scores of test 1 and test 2. That means there is no effect of case study method. There is no effect of case study method. Fine. So this is how you can execute the paired sample t-test in Excel. I have shown you 3 methods. You can use any of the 3 methods in Excel. Can we go ahead?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So now the next thing is p-value analysis. So we have seen, we have discussed the interval estimation. We have discussed the z-value analysis. We have discussed t-value analysis. Now we are into p-value analysis, and the next is f-value analysis. Now in case of p-value analysis, now it will be very clear to you that what rule I have written here. If I consider any distribution, for example, if I consider any distribution, and that distribution, if this is my mu, then we always say that I have some accept region. So this becomes my accept region, and there is some reject region. So the remaining portion of the distribution is my reject region. Correct? Now what is p-value? P-value is the probability of an observed result. P-value is the probability of an observed result, assuming that null hypothesis is true. Assuming that null hypothesis is true. So if I am saying that I am 95% confident, or my confidence level is 95%, that means the significance level is 0.05. Significance level is 5%, that means 0.05. So when I say 0.05, half of that 0.05 on this side and half of that 0.05 is on this side. So I can consider this region consists of 0.025% of population, and this side consists of 0.025% of population, for example, which is my reject region. Now you tell me if my p-value is in this region, or if my p-value is in this region, can I say that my p-value is in reject region? Can I say my p-value is in my reject region?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I can say that, correct? So if my p-value is less than this 0.05, if my p-value is less than this 0.05, I can say my p-value is in reject region, correct? It can be either in this side or this side. The total is 0.05. So if p-value is less than 0.05, I can say that my p-value is from the reject region. That means I have to reject H0. So you can look at the rule. Same rule is given here. If p-value is less than significance level, reject H0. If p-value is less than significance level, reject H0. And if p-value is greater than significant level, then we fail to reject H0. If I'm getting a p-value which is greater than 0.05, if I get some value which is greater than 0.05, obviously my p is going to be in this accept region. So we fail to reject H0. So this is the rule for p-value analysis. So just look at the p-value, compare that p-value with the significance level, and then you can either reject or accept the H0. Okay. So I'll just give the kind of summary to you. I'll just skip this part. We'll solve these examples, but before solving the examples, look at this summary. Now, because we have discussed the p-value analysis, this is the summary of all the methods and all the rules. Method 1 is using the interval estimation method. The rule says if my mu or H0, mu for H0 belongs to this interval, then we say we fail to reject H0. The rule remains same. We fail to reject H0. Then in case of method 2, using Z value, if mod of Z is less than confidence level, then we fail to reject H0. In t-value analysis, if calculated is less than table, then we fail to reject H0. And for p-value analysis, if p-value is less than significance level, that means we are in the reject region, we reject H0. Simple. So you have to remember these 4 rules whenever you solve any problem of hypothesis testing, and based on that method, you have to apply appropriate rule on that method. So this is kind of a summary of all 4 methods. Am I clear to you? Can we go ahead?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So now we have solved the problem for paired sample. We have solved the problem for paired sample. Yes. Okay, so, fine. So we have discussed this same thing. 95%, that means I have 2.5% on this side in the reject region and 2.5% on this side in the reject region. That comes to 0.025 and 0.025, that is 0.05, which is my significance level. So if P is less than that 0.05, that means I am in the reject region, reject H0. Okay, fine. So that is all about paired sample t-test. Now I'll go for independent sample t-test, next method. When my objects are different, I'm taking one exam for one class and second exam for second class. Students are different, objects are different. I cannot compare them as paired sample, I have to compare them as independent sample. And in case of independent sample, as we have discussed in yesterday's session, first we have to check the variance. If the variance of both the samples is also same, then we have a different method for calculation. And if the variance between 2 samples is not same, then we have to go for a different method for calculation. So now consider this problem. Check if there is a significant difference in the average cycle time to deliver a pizza from pizza company A and pizza company B. Now this is the data collected from a sample of deliveries of company A and company B. So these are the delivery times. If I consider company A, for the first order, it is taking 20 minutes, around 20 minutes to deliver that pizza from company A. Then for second delivery, it is taking 24 minutes. For third delivery, 15.4 minutes and so on. Similarly, these are the delivery times for pizza outlet B. These are delivery times for pizza outlet B. Now I want to compare in terms of delivery time. In terms of delivery time, who is doing better? Which pizza company is doing better, or which pizza outlet is doing better, A or B? If I want to check that who is doing better, that means I have to first calculate what is the mean delivery time of A, and then I'll calculate what is the mean delivery time of B, and then I'll compare the means. But it is not that simple. As we have seen in paired sample also, just by comparing means, I may see a difference, but I need to check whether that difference is significant or not, correct? So what is the first step? First step is to understand what the problem is. This problem is not for paired sample, that is clear, because we have unequal number of observations. In this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 observations, and in the second case, we have only 5 observations. First of all, we have unequal observations. So it cannot be case of paired sample. Even if we have equal observations, this cannot be case of paired sample because pizza outlet A is different entity and pizza outlet B is different entity. And we are just having data about the delivery times. So this is a case of independent samples. So first we have to understand what the problem is. The problem is about independent samples. Now if the problem is about independent samples, first thing is we need to find the variance. First you have to plot H0, H1, and then confidence level you have to define, and then you have to define the variance, or you have to calculate the variance, and you have to compare the variance, based on which we will use appropriate method of independent samples. Now for this problem, how can I form H0? For this problem, how can I form H0? Yes, anyone? How can I form H0 for this problem?
H0 is equal to 20 minutes.
From where you are getting this value 20? I am not
taking as an average value.
No, you cannot do that. You cannot do that. You have to form H0 based on what problem statement you have received. This is your problem statement. So what can be H0? Basically, I am comparing the mean of A with mean of B. First of all, I want to compare mean of A with mean of B. So what my H0 can be? because it is H naught, no and not has to be in the statement, there is no significant difference in the delivery time of A and delivery time of B. That can be my H naught, yes? Okay, so we'll go to data analysis. This is first method which I have explained in session number 2. We'll go to descriptive statistics, click on OK, click on both A and B, for which you want to calculate descriptive statistics. Suppose I want to start my output from this location. Summary statistics is I want to display summary statistics. I'll click on OK. It will give me the mean, standard deviation, everything for both A and B, both company A and company B. What I am interested in is variance. This is variance. This is what I am interested in. So variance of A is 7.515 and variance of B is 2.682. There is another method to calculate variance. So to calculate variance of A and to calculate variance of B, I can use direct formula as equal to variance into bracket. I'll cancel all the values of A, and that will give me the same value as 7.5 as it is given in the descriptive statistics. And for B, I can directly use the formula variance into bracket all the values of B, bracket complete, and that is 2.682. So these are the two methods to calculate variance in Excel. Can I say the variances are same? No. The variance of A is 7.5 and variance of B is 2.6, and these are not similar variances. Even if they are not exactly same like 7.5 and 7.5, I don't want that case also. Even if it is 7.5, 7.1, 7.5, 6.9, that is also I can consider as equal variance, similar variance. But 7.5 and 2.6 are totally different variances. So this is a case of unequal variance. So we go to data analysis, select the method t-test to sample assuming unequal variances, because this is a case of unequal variance. Click on OK, variable 1, I'll select all the values of column A, variable 2, I'll select all the values of column 2. Labels, yes, I have labels in my first row. What is the hypothesized mean difference? I am considering that there is no difference. What is my H0? There is no difference in delivery time by company A and company. There is no difference in mean time. That means the hypothesized mean difference is 0. Alpha, I'll keep it as 0.05, which is default output. Suppose I want to start my output from this location, and then I'll click on OK. So if I click on OK, this is what I get as T statistics. As we have discussed, we are interested in these two values, T statistics. This is the calculated T value, and this is the table T value. Now from these two values, I can say that the calculated is less than critical. Calculated is less than critical. 1.2 is less than 2.2. If calculated is less than critical, we fail to reject H0. If calculated is less than critical, we fail to reject H0. So in this case, we fail to reject H0 even if you look at the P value. Even if you look at the P value, this P value is greater than 0.05. This P value is greater than 0.05. In case of P greater than 0.05, again we fail to reject H0. So in both cases, we can say we fail to reject H0, correct? So I'll again go back to the PPT, and now we'll see the problem solution. This is the solution, the same solution we have done, the same execution we have done in Excel. So from this, we can say T calculated is less than T critical. T calculated is less than T critical. So we fail to reject H0. Even if you look at P value, it is greater than 0.05. So we fail to reject H0. Now, what is the meaning of the statement we fail to reject H0? That means my H0 is correct. That is my H0 is correct. What is my H0? There is no significant difference in the average cycle time to deliver pizza. There is no significant difference in the delivery time. That is my conclusion. So there is no significant difference in the average cycle time to deliver the pizza from pizza company A and pizza company B. Both are delivering in almost similar times. The delivery time is almost same. That is my conclusion. Is it clear to all of you? Can we go ahead?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now considering that you have understood independent sample method, next problem is this. Again, the data set is given to you already. Try to solve this problem. First, formulate H0, H1, and then calculate the variances, look at them, whether they are similar or not, and then use appropriate method and then calculate it. So first thing is H0 and H1. Tell me what is H0 and what is H1.
There is no difference in time taken by the new machine and old machine.
Yes, so this data is about a packing plant. In a packing plant, a machine packs carton of jars or cartons with jars, and this is the new machine packing time, and this is the old machine packing time. And this packing time is what it takes to pack 10 cartons. So this is the time taken to pack 10 cartons by new machine. In second slot, the same new machine is taking 41 seconds maybe or 41 minutes to pack 10 cartons and so on. So we are trying to compare the packing time of new machine with old machine. We are trying to compare packing time of new machine with old machine. So what my H0 is, H0 will be, there is no significant difference in the packing time. There is no significant difference in the packing time.
Yes, sir.
So variances are 0.46 and 0.56, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So I can say this is a case of equal variance, similar variance. There is not much difference in both the variances. So I can go ahead with equal variance method. So if you use equal variance method, you will get this output. So T statistics is 3.39 and T critical is 2.10. Now in this case, 3.39 is greater than 2.10. 3.39 is greater than 2.10. So if calculated is greater than T table, we say we reject H0. Even if you look at p-value, it is less than, this p-value is less than 0.05. So again, in that case also we say we reject H0. So when you say we reject H0, that means we consider H1 as true. When we say reject H0, we consider H1 as true. So at 95% confidence level or at 95% level of significance, the data provides sufficient evidence that the new machine packs faster than old machine. The new machine packs faster than old machine. That is what is the conclusion is. Have you got the same answers? Can we go ahead?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
Yes, sir.
yes. So considering now all these things, I give you 2 minutes. Solve this problem. Yes. So what is H0 and what is H1?
GPA same, that is the H0.
GPAs of seniors and juniors at the university is same. There is no difference in the GPAs of seniors and juniors. If I calculate variance, it is 0.27 and 0.09. The difference is huge, so I can say it is unequal variance, case of unequal variance. And if I solve the method unequal variance, then I get T statistics as 0.9 and T critical as 2.05. So T statistics is less than T critical, so I can say we fail to reject H0. We fail to reject H0. And even if you look at the p-value is greater than 0.05. In that case also we say we fail to reject H0. So when I say we fail to reject H0, that means we'll go ahead with H0, and that is there is no significant difference in the GPAs of seniors and juniors. There is no significant difference in the GPAs of seniors and juniors. Am I clear? Can we go ahead?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now this is the kind of summary which we have already discussed, the 4 methods and the 4 rules for 4 methods. So you can always remember this slide. Even if you take a screenshot of this slide, you have to remember these 4 rules always. So now till this point, what we have discussed is how to deal with 1 samples, how to deal with 2 samples. But what if we have more than 2 samples? What if we have more than 2 samples? So in certain problem, if we have 3 samples, suppose I have sample A, sample B, and sample C, and then I have some data points. So we know how to deal with 1 sample, we know how to deal with 2 samples, but if a 3rd sample comes in the picture, like suppose I am comparing 3 groups of employees. I'm comparing 3 groups of employees, 1 group from Pune location, 1 group from Mumbai location, and 1 group from Bangalore location. So the 3 samples are based on the locations. And I want to compare the performance of these 3 set of employees. So in this case, I'll calculate the mean performance of set A, mean performance of set B, and mean performance of set C. And then I'll compare the mean of A, mean of B, and mean of C. Now we know how to compare only the mean of only one sample. We know how to compare mean of 2 samples. But when a third sample comes in the picture and we have to compare 3 or more than 3 means, then we have to go for next type of analysis, which is called as ANOVA or F statistics. We have to calculate the F statistics and we have to do the analysis of variance, that is ANOVA. Now in this case, we can solve this problem with T statistics also. Just consider A and B first as 2 samples. Just consider A and B, find the T value. Then consider only B and C. Then find the T value, and then just consider A and C, and then find the T value. So in case of 3 samples, we have to consider T statistics 3 times because there are 3 groups, AB, BC, and AC. Instead of doing T statistics for 3 times, this can be done using only one method, and that is called as F statistics. So F statistics is for 3 or more than 3 samples. F statistics is for 3 or more than 3 samples. Because only we have 3 samples, we can think of going for T statistics, that is okay. Instead of 3, if we have 6 samples, A, B, C, D, E, and F also. If I have 6 samples, then just think of how many combinations I'll have for T statistics. So those many number of times I have to do T statistics. Instead of that, what I can do is, even if I have 6 samples, I can easily do F statistics only once, and I can compare all the means of all 6 sets, all 6 samples, and I can tell whether my H0 is right or not. Okay, so that is how now we are trying to move into direction of multiple samples. Now we'll try to move into direction of multiple samples. Now in case of multiple samples, we'll take the case of 3 samples. Now what is the meaning of analysis of variance? In case of multiple samples, what is the meaning of analysis of variance? The rule is within group variance is larger and the between group variance is smaller. So F will be smaller, reflecting the likelihood of no significant differences between these 3 sample means. I'll explain this statement, and then I'll explain this diagram also. Suppose if I give you the distributions, if I consider that distributions are something like this. So I'll consider this line. This is my first distribution. This is my second distribution. And this is my third distribution. From these three distributions, can I say that all the 3 data sets are similar in behavior? Can I say my 3 data sets are similar in behavior? I cannot, because the distribution is different. In this case, the standard deviation is kind of normal. In this case, the standard deviation, like all the data points are very close to the mean value. This is very a flat curve. So though I have the distributions available with me, based on the distribution shape, I can say that the 3 data sets are not having similar behavior. Okay, fine. This is one case. Now, if I give you second case, like this is my first distribution. This is my second distribution with the same mean. And this is my third distribution with the same mean. Now I'm considering my mean as the same location. For all 3 distributions, I have the same mean. But looking at 3 distributions, because of the height, I can say that the behavior of all 3 distributions is not similar in nature. They are not having similar behavior. So meaning is what? That when I have to consider multiple distributions, or when I consider more than 2 distributions, I have to consider, or I always do the analysis of 2 types of variances, and that is within group and between group. Now when I say within group is what? inside the group. So look at the variance inside the group for this curve. Look at this variance and compare that variance with this curve. So with these two comparisons of variances, I can say that the spread of data in this curve is more compared to the spread of data in the original curve, correct? The first curve. That is called as within the group variance. So if I tell you that I have 3 samples with within the group variance almost similar, within the group variance almost similar, which is given in this diagram, you can look at the variance spread of the data of all 3 distributions. For all 3 distributions, within the group variance is almost similar. That means I can consider that, okay, fine, the behavior can be similar to each other. The behavior of these 3 data sets can be similar to each other. But only within the group variance is not sufficient to say that. Only within the group variance is not sufficient to say that, because I have to also consider where are the mean values. Where are the mean values, or indirectly what is the difference between the multiple distributions. What is the difference between multiple distributions? If that difference, if that variance between the groups is also very small, then they are almost overlapping. Otherwise, I'll get 3 distributions, something like this. So all 3 distributions within the group variance is almost same, almost similar, but between the group variance is very large. So I can say they are having similar behavior, but the mean value is totally different. So if I want to say that all 3 data sets have similar means, at the end what we are comparing is the mean values. If the mean itself is totally different, then there is no meaning in comparing all 3 data sets. So at the end, if I want to say that all 3 data sets have similar behavior, even the within group variance has to be similar, and between group variance has to be very small. So that is what it is given here. Within the group variance is larger. That spread has to be larger within the group. And the between group variance is smaller. This between group. So between group variance has to be smaller. That means they are almost overlapping. And if I have 3 distributions which are almost overlapping, then I can say that the mean of all 3 distributions is almost similar. The mean of all 3 distributions is also very much similar. And that is why this kind of analysis is called as analysis of variance, because we are understanding the distributions and their behavior based on their variance within the group and between the group. So at the end, what you have to remember is, if I want 3 distributions to have similar behavior, those 3 distributions should be almost overlapping to each other. And to have those 3 distributions almost overlapping to each other, they have to have same height. That means their internal distribution has to be same, and they should be very close to each other. That means their between the group variance has to be very small. So within the group variance has to be larger, and between the group variance has to be smaller. That is the key to say, or that is the method to say that my 3 distributions or more than 3 distributions have similar behavior or have similar functioning. So I can say their means are also similar to each other, close to each other. So this is the meaning of analysis of variance. And now to calculate this analysis of variance, in statistics we have a method called as F statistics. So if you calculate F statistics, then you can compare F statistics with F table value again, F critical, and then you can come to know whether your H0 is correct or not.